Look, I know what you're thinking. Who in their right mind would come out and say, yes, Lessie Randle does not deserve reparations from the Tulsa massacre that was committed against her in 1921? That answer is me. Firstly, let's get a couple of things clear. Number one, no, I don't think that the Supreme Court had the correct reasonings for knocking down the reparations case, so that's a completely different matter. I'm not saying that there was never a case for reparations for Lessie Randle. I think that the case is long gone. The window has already closed. And before we could even enter this conversation, I think that there has been a lot of misrepresentation of what reparations even means. That's like, yeah, bro, I'm black. We're a descendant of slaves. We should deserve reparations. And it's like, it's not really what reparations are for. Reparations are typically done through civil cases. So for an example, like me and you had a business contract and it says, I will do X, Y, and Z if you do A, B, C. And you go ahead and do A, B, C, but I don't do X, Y, and Z. And so you're like, hey, dude, what's going on, bro? Why are you doing, upholding your end of your bargain? And I'm like, I kind of don't want to. Well, you have every opportunity to hire a lawyer and then come after me. And so if you take me to court and it's just proven that I didn't uphold my end of the bargain, that I didn't do what I didn't do that I said I was going to do in the contract, and I signed it, and I'm found guilty, I'm legally obligated to pay you some type of compensation. The reason being is because I committed an injustice to you. The reasons why you did ABC is because you was under the impression that I did X, Y, and Z. And because I didn't do it, I wasted your time, I wasted your money, I wasted your efforts, I wasted your resources, so on and so forth. And so the way I can't really give you back time, I can't really do you, I can't really do X, Y, and Z for you. What I can do is pay you money. And so that's what the court recommends, or not the recommends, but legally obligates me to do, is pay you money. And so they do their whole calculations of how much you want and blah, 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 and I'm forced to pay it. That's what reparations are for. It's for some type of civil injustice. The major problem in Lessie Randle's case against the city of Tulsa is that she has produced zero perpetrators of the injustice. If she was able to produce some type of person that was in government during the time of the 1921 race massacre that didn't do his job by protecting the rights of the black Americans that were unfortunately killed, or if she was able to produce a person who was an active participant in the 1921 race massacre, the Tulsa race massacre, then she would have a valid case for reparations. The government should have every single right and sit there and say, yeah, bro, you did it. You were there at the crime. We have evidence. And now we're going to force you to pay for her psychological trauma that she's been enduring for all these years. But the problem is that there's proof, quote unquote, that there is psychological trauma that Lessie has endured. Sure. But there are no perpetrators of that crime that has led to those psychological traumas. So to make it clear, the case for reparations for Lessie is incomplete. You need a perpetrator and you need a victim. You only have the victim. And it's not so much about the incompleteness of the case. It's more rather that people, the residents of the city of Tulsa, would be the ones that are going to be kicking the bill to pay for the injustices committed by other people. And if the legal justice system was supposed to be about justice, they would know that forcing other people to pay for an injustice that was committed to another person that they, one, don't even know, two, probably don't care about, and three, have no connection to the actual perpetrators of the crime. That is literally what it means to be unjust. The concept of justice, before you can even apply the concept to relationships amongst people, means to treat something as it is, And so forcing other people to foot the bill for something they had no involvement in, you are treating them as if they are perpetrators of the crime. And that is literally what it means to be unjust. If I lived in the city of Tulsa and they won that case, I would be mad as hell. I worked for my money. I own my money. And some random percentage determined by some guy that wears a suit and works for the city of Tulsa government shouldn't be deciding how much of my money should be allotted to X and Y, Z victim, when I, in fact, had no part of it, didn't even know she existed. To put it in other words, just because some atrocity was committed against you, what right do you now magically have towards my money? You don't. Some people could say, oh, you're really being insensitive and that's immoral. And it's like, no, it's not immoral. I'm actually arguing for the foundation of morality. Fundamentally, morality requires the ability to choose. So for an example, if I grabbed your hand in Walmart and forced you to slap another woman, Could the woman turn around and be like, "You, sir, you're an immoral person. I'm pressing charges on you." And you're like, but ma'am, the dude over here grabbed my hand. And she's like, "I don't care. You did it." And it's like, no, that's not how morality works. Forcing other people to pay for some type of atrocity is immoral. It is negating the ability to choose. And so if I was Lessie Randle and I had a proper understanding of how government functions, instead of going to the government and trying to seek monetary compensation by forcing others to pay for my trauma, I would go start a GoFundMe. I'll go freaking, you know what I'm saying? I'll go start something and receive funds. And everybody who contributes to my GoFundMe or whatever institution that I want to set up, those people are moral. Congratulations to them. You actually care about racial atrocities and you want to seek some type of form of justice. But what Lessie Randle did was the opposite of just. Unfortunately, the concept of reparations are completely masqueraded today. Reparations is no longer about seeking justice. It's a social tool. And the social tool is make white people feel guilty for the sins of their ancestors and make black people feel better about ourselves because we're seeking some type of justice in the forms of paying, in forms of receiving money that we have no right to. The concept of generational wealth is shaky at best, and I think that's another video. But the whole idea that you as a white person is a descendant from a slave owner, which have committed crimes to slaves, and which some black people are descendants of, that you should be able to foot some type of bill to descendants of slaves. In other words, I know it's cliche, but people who were never slave owners footing the bill to people who were never slaves. And people can say, well, slaves built this nation and white people are in positions of power because they have generational wealth from slave owners and da-da-da-da, and black people are in the position because of slavery. And it's like, kind of shaky evidence going towards that. But even so, again, the whole moral setup is flawed. Even if Gilbert the freaking third, inherited wealth from Gilbert the first who owned slaves, Gilbert III should have no moral responsibility to pay Letitia, who was freaking, a descendant of slave from a Quanquo. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Could you say that Gilbert III's wealth was somehow, if you could prove it, somehow unjustly inherited? You could argue that. But then can you use that to jump to the conclusion that he must pay freaking Letitia? Absolutely not. That's the end of the video. If you want to read my deeper analysis on this exact same topic, I have a publication on Substack called The American Laboratory. Links in the description. And with that being said, pick up a book, stay scholarly.